Hi everyone, I'm Mary Delgado with the Blockchain Herd. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel, and please don't forget to hit that like button and ask your friends to subscribe as well. Today I have a wonderful guest, and he is with StrongBlock, and he is the CEO and founder. He's going to tell us all about StrongBlock, so welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Mary. Really appreciate you and Blockchain Herd team.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm super excited, David. His name is David Moss, about learning about what you're doing. So, if you can please just give us a little history on how you started within the crypto world and how you just formulated StrongBlock.
Great. Well, I started off as a child, and then but I worked my way up into technology and worked at a number of different technology corporations, including Oracle Corporation and others. And I, about 5 years ago, started getting into blockchain because it was just a technology that we were interested in. I got exposed to Bitcoin and information about Bitcoin right when Bitcoin started. I read the white paper and everything else. Didn't get into it as much because I was looking at from the technology point of view, and really blockchain back 12 years ago or so just wasn't going anywhere. So what I did was I kept working in various things, did white papers. I was a ghostwriter on a number of very successful white papers. And I read a white paper that came out in, I think it was early 2017, and it was from a company called Block One. Block One's white paper was for a product called EOSIO. That's the software. And they had a token called EOS. And I really liked what they were doing because I was concerned about Ethereum costs and how much gas was going to be costing people. And we thought we had solved it with EOS. And so I was lucky enough to be introduced to the CEO of Block One at a party in Los Angeles. And someone sat the two of us down and said, I know both of you. I think you need to figure out how to work together.
Wow.
And I said, okay, I've got other things I'm doing. I'm not interested in taking a job working for anybody. And I got on the phone. I was asked to get on the phone with the CTO, Dan Larimer, because I had said, well, I read the white paper and there's a couple things in there that I'm not really sure how are going to work. And I think you're going to need to think about revising them before you release. So I talked with Dan Larimer on the phone.
Wow.
That evening. It was actually that late afternoon. And by the end of the day, I was offered a position. They said, we'd like you to join the core team of Block One. At the time, it was Dan Larimer in the United States. There were people in Hong Kong, but Block One in the United States had just incorporated. So I went to work. I flew to I was supposed to be in Blacksburg, Virginia the next day, which is where Dan lives and is based. And I couldn't be there, got there, and we started putting things together. And it was just Dan and I meeting at the Inn at Virginia Tech. And we just would meet there every day. And then he would go home. And that was it. There was no offices or anything else like that.
So
and
you were an early employee then. That's amazing. Yeah. So
I was essentially
were there at that point?
Dan.
Just you and Dan?
Dan. Now he had a couple of contractors. There was a group, contracting group out of St. Louis, Missouri that was doing some work, and there were the people working in Hong Kong, but there were no formal employees and not even salary or benefits or anything. It was just Dan working out of his basement office, a really nice basement office in Blacksburg. And so I became officially employee number 2.
Wow, didn't that scare you that it was just you and he, and this was just something new that you really didn't understand yet?
It was tech. I understood blockchain. I'd read the white paper and I knew what he wanted to accomplish. And so, yes, I would say the scary part was, okay, I did not want to do another startup of somebody else's. I wanted to do my startup. So that was the scary part. It's like, great, I'm going to go to work for somebody else. But on the other hand, if you have a chance to go and work with somebody that you've admired for a long time, and I admired what Dan had done. He'd done a lot of great stuff in blockchain. You'd probably pay for that opportunity. I would have paid for that opportunity. I actually got paid for that opportunity to learn.
But you didn't tell him that you would have paid him, right? You just kind of kept that.
Not until interviews afterwards. No, I made sure, and he actually offered, like I said, I flew there and he offered me a salaried position on the spot with and named the salary and everything else. I think within the first 24 hours of me getting there. And I have what it was is I've been doing startups for a long time. If you look at my resume, I've been at a lot of startups. I typically go in and help figure things out so you can get them built. That was my reputation. That's why I was recommended in here. I wasn't just some random person out there. The people that introduced me to Block One knew me and knew that they'd worked with me before, and I built stuff for them. And so that was really what so for me, that was really what they were looking for. For me, it was another thing to build. And I got to really learn blockchain from the inside out from somebody who I really admired.
Now, how long did you stay with Block One then?
I was there from early August of 2017 until May 15th. This sounds like I'm at a job interview now. So May 15th of 2018, which is 2 weeks before we finished up the EOS token offering and the software. The software and the token offering ending coincided. So it all happened on June 1st.
Okay. So what I didn't tell you is that this is a job interview because I'm going to offer you a job with the blockchain herd.
Okay. Well, I hope I pass the audition, as they say.
Absolutely. Absolutely, you did. I mean, that's super exciting that you were, in the beginning, and the people that introduced you to Dan, someone who you'd been following. Is that what really made you want to launch your company now, where you, from what I understand and I saw on your website, you help enterprise companies launch on blockchain? Is that where your heart was going in this?
Yeah, and that's exactly. And so I'll go back to what I said is, why would I take this job? And I of course learned at the feet of Dan Larimer, why else would I do that? Because I wanted to have my own company. So the whole idea was for me to have my own company. And so that goes back to, I'd had a similar thing happen twice. Once when I was just getting out of school and I was offered a job, I was going to try to go out there and just be a consultant. And I was offered a job at Oracle Corporation. Mm-hmm. And then same with a company called Edmunds.com, where I was a consultant to them. And then they offered me the position of founding CIO. And I took that position. And each time it's like, I'm never, ever going to go to work for anybody else. And so same thing happened here. And this time I was approached by Dan. And he said, would you like, I've got an opportunity for you. We can invest in you and you can start your own company. Yeah. That didn't actually ever happen. They offered us money. We didn't end up taking it. But the team that I brought in, all the people that I brought in that I was used to helping me execute stuff, I brought them in and we were able to get EOSIO software out the door. And the agreement was whether or not they funded us, I would be able to take that team with me, because they were all people who had worked with me. One person had been working with me for over, I think, 15, 20 years. Wow. So they're a team that I trusted to get stuff done, that I can give information to. So it was obvious that we were going to start a company, and I just basically delayed it for about a year. But I walked away with a lot of knowledge about how things should work and how they should be put together. So it was a great interlude and learning experience. And it also helped with, getting in the midst of everything and really getting, I started to get known in the blockchain community because of that.
Well, I'm a very strong believer that everything happens for a reason, right? And that was, your launching pad to get you to the next level. Every experience in your life has a purpose, and you figure it out later. So, what's so wonderful about you having that desire to have your own business? I have my own business, as I was sharing with you earlier. I do real estate, and it allows you to really blossom the vision that you have for what you're trying to create, right? To put a team of people that you trust, like what you were saying. So, it's great that you did have the heart to want to start your own business and be as successful as you are right now. It's super exciting.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, yes, and thank you. I think that what I haven't been ever afraid of is to take on a challenge. Mm-hmm. And each one of these things that I mentioned, the different things that I've taken on, I've taken on challenges. In this particular case, what's the old saying about, most people miss opportunity because it's dressed in overalls and looks a lot like hard work. And having your own business as you do, is hard work. And there's a lot of things that are unpredictable, and sometimes including a paycheck and other things like that, and just getting things done. And I have a group of people that I said trusted for a long time, and that really helped me to get through it. But it still is a big leap, no matter what, to start a business. And so our business, our goal was, well, if we have a blockchain operating system, good, we help build that. Now we can go out there and hold it up. It's like the Steve Wozniak, Steve Jobs. Wozniak built the Apple computer. Steve Jobs held it up, says, anybody want to buy this? We were doing that for EOSIO, the blockchain operating software. Does anybody want to use this for their enterprise? And so what we wanted to build was what's called blockchain as a service. And so we set about building that. We had corporate clients, we had some venture capital, and we started building test versions of it so that you can actually literally type in a few things, press a button, and bam, 3 minutes later, there's your blockchain, and you can hook it into your corporate systems or hook it into your website. We built that.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And so that was our goal, and we built that. Now, here's where the rub comes in. We went live with our final, the final big version, and we'd already had a number of corporate clients, and we were getting thousands of people signing up on February 20th of this year. Okay, what happened around February 20th of this year?
February.
The world started shutting down.
I was just going to tell you this.
We had, yeah, COVID, exactly. And so we had, I think, we had a bunch of contracts. We had people coming in and using all of our stuff. And a lot of people that were using it were using blockchain as a service so that they could experiment with what they wanted to do. And then they could launch it, but they could experiment very quickly, which is the problem in blockchain, finding developers, everything else. So we launched, and we were all excited, and we got it out there, and it's like, okay, 3 big multi-million-dollar contracts postponed at first. Oh, we're going to delay them for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, and then never heard from them again. And they're probably never going to do those projects because these were Fortune 100 companies, and even those, and even some of the smaller ones. So we were already on our roadmap. The next thing we were going to do was a thing called nodes as a service. And everybody knows about blockchain and nodes. So we started looking at it and we're saying, okay, well, we've got these projects, we've got this other stuff, but this really isn't catching on the way that we would hope. Maybe we're too early. Maybe it's COVID. It's even hard to say, but technical projects budgets got slashed by a lot of budgets got slashed by 80 to 100%. They literally shut down development because they didn't know where they were going to go.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're talking about the BaaS, well, BaaS to me is like I was a BaaS fisherman and angler, so that's what I think of when I hear BaaS.
Maybe it's BaaS.
BaaS. So I think about SaaS, which is software as a service. So it's pretty interesting how you have blockchain as a service, you have nodes as a service, it's software as a service. It's similar, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's we're kind of going on, we're riffing on the same basic idea. Right. So the interim, what we started looking at was, well, to run a blockchain, you need nodes, right? The basic concept, and I've done lectures. If you could see my stuff in the background, I've done lectures all over the world on this, but I try to make it very simple for people. And I said, well, what's a blockchain? Well, it's a ledger. There was ledgers all the way back 5,000 years ago, people keeping track of how many sheep they bought and whether or not the guy gave them, low quality feed or whatever. That's a single entry ledger. The Medicis, they had double entry ledger, but they had 2 versions. They had a version that they gave to the Pope and a version that they kept for themselves to figure out taxes and everything else. So what came along was blockchain, right? It's triple entry ledger. So there's 3. So it's again, debits, credits, and then you have this interesting thing called a witness. And that was Nick Szabo and some other people, Ian Gregg and Nick Szabo and other people were all talking about triple entry ledger. What is that? It's writing it to a witness where the witness can never, ever be taken down. So what is that? Well, that's called a node. And what you do is on the Ethereum node, if you have 10,000 Ethereum nodes, then if we're writing if we put this on the blockchain, if you put it up and you take it back down, if you put this video up and you take it back down, it's kind of gone. The link will be there, it'll be gone. If you put it on the blockchain, there's 10,000 nodes that have a copy of it. a lot harder. It makes it unstoppable, right? So
It goes nowhere.
yeah, it's basically, it's there forever, and it's really hard to erase that. Now, that's good and bad. It's great if you were if you're doing that just so you have that permanent, so people can't say, well, you messed with this and you made these changes. It's like you can't cook the books with blockchain. It's all right there. Bad side is you can still do the stuff that happened with the dark web, which on the good side, people were able to trace every transaction and trace them back and find them and look at wallets. And so it was easier to transmit things, but it was also then easier to trace them. And so nodes, that was our next thing, was, well, if we could help support nodes. We found that EOS nodes and Ethereum nodes, unless you're one of the top miners, you don't get any money. You're doing all this stuff, you're buying expensive equipment, but you need to have that. So you need to have more nodes. The more nodes you have, the more robust the system is, the more decentralized, et cetera. So that's what we were doing. It's like, well, we got blockchain as a service. Why not create nodes as a service? Because that was on our roadmap to do. We'd already built a marketplace for it. And then we got excited about DeFi. And we thought, well, how are we going to get nodes to be able to be paid for? And it's like, well, we can have the people coming in pay for them, but how do we encourage them? Well, maybe if we have a token. And so that's when we said, well, let's have us tokens, the strong token that you can use. So there's a strong cryptocurrency out there.
How long ago did you create the strong token?
We physically created it in early August of this year. So that was when, and we distributed some of them at that point, but we had the idea for the strong token back in our original white paper. That was always going to be to support blockchains and nodes. But, well, let's see, look at our timing. 2018, crypto winter, right? We were out there looking to do an ICO, crypto winter came. Then we were looking at doing IEO, and then those didn't really too much work. And we were thinking, do we even really need a token? And even the big exchanges we were talking with, they loved us, but they said, we're not sure what you need a token for. Now they know what we need a token for. But so then we put together nodes as a service. We started getting it ready, and then we did the token in August. We launched the platform, the nodes as a service platform. Actually, it wasn't even nodes as a service. It was just, we will support your own nodes. Bring your own node. We like acronyms here. So
I see that.
bring your own. We have BYON and NAS
let me guess. Is it called TAS? Token as a service?
Token as a service, yeah, almost. Actually, we had that, but we didn't call it that, where you could generate your own tokens from our platform. Yeah. So we created bring your own node at first. Okay. You create a node, you bring it here, you prove that it's working. We've got a set of tests. If it's working, you can get compensated in our system with Strong. And so we launched that in September. Too much inflation, not enough people doing the nodes. We realized we needed to kind of change that around. So we're actually on version 3. We launched version 3 last Thursday, and it has nodes as a service now. Nodes as a service is, you can go in there and say, I'd like to set up a node to support the Ethereum network, and there'll be other networks coming later on, or Ethereum protocol. And you enter a couple of pieces of information, you press a button, and your node is generated for you, and it starts earning rewards.
Now, earlier you were talking about gas fees. Do you find that that's a problem?
Well, the thing with the way that we've set it up is we pay some gas fees to set up those nodes, but we've optimized that to make it pretty easy. And then the nodes themselves don't really incur too much. They incur the normal gas fees if you're running on a node on the network. So the node itself doesn't incur gas. It can, unless it's doing transactions, and then people that are doing the transactions pay the gas. So it's just like any other node out there. You're just running through it. So if you use everybody out there that's using cryptocurrency, let's talk to the people who aren't, but the people who are know what's going on. You have a wallet. Most people use something like a MetaMask wallet or something like that. And there are hardware wallets, and there are all sorts of different cool wallets that people have developed, Metal Wallet and things like that. Proton, I think, is one. So there's a bunch of different things out there, but MetaMask, that wallet, you can, when you're using it, you're actually hooked to a service. So if you're using it, you're hooked to, by default, to what's called Infura.
So MetaMask, is that the one that has like the little fox?
Yep, you got it. It's a little fox.
I see my husband on that sometimes. And speaking of my husband, God rest his soul, because it was just a shock to lose Malcolm Cassell. I know that he was
Oh
a
my,
friend of yours and a friend of my husband as well.
yeah,
So Malcolm was the one who introduced my husband to
oh,
StrongBlock.
oh,
Really smart man.
wow. Yeah, Malcolm, yeah. So, give me a sec here. Yeah, that's that. Yeah, I'm sorry. It kind of, when it happened, it was very shocking for me. Malcolm was a very good friend, and actually we collaborated on a number of things. He brought me into several projects to be a ghostwriter for white papers, and he was an investor in StrongBlock
Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
And so I was very shocking. I had just talked with him or chatted with him on Telegram a few days before, and he was giving me advice on something that's an upcoming in our roadmap. And then all of a sudden he was gone. But he was, just to delve into that, he was amazing. He was
an early pioneer himself.
he was a pioneer, but he was also fearless.
Yeah,
And he got into some things where it's just like, why not? Let's just give it a try. Let's just put some money behind it. Let's see where it goes. And I saw him do that over and over again. And he, when we were doing StrongBlock, by the way, with what we were doing, he went after me for months. And I just said, we don't need any more investment, and we're fine. And finally, it's like I was somewhere in another country, and it was an early morning thing, and I had a conversation with him, a Zoom conversation. And he goes, Dave, I really want to put money into your company. I think that I love what you're doing. I think this is going to go a long ways, and please give me at least the opportunity to put a small amount in. And so we did. And then it's one of those things where there's some people who put money into a company and don't really do a lot as far as, they're just waiting for their return. Malcolm was constantly looking for business opportunities, and he did that for a lot of companies. He did that for Wax, especially all of Wax's big things that they're doing out there, the Topps cards and all these cool things. Those were Malcolm deals.
yeah.
He was the guy that was executing a lot of those deals. And so he will be, I will miss him, and I still think about him. One of the things that's kind of shocking to me is my Telegram. I've archived my conversations with him, but I've left them up there, so every time I go into Telegram, it's at the very top.
Oh.
And so it reminds me of of why I'm doing this, and that to be as fearless as he was. And so I decided to leave it there, but it also, every once in a while, it chokes me up a little bit. So,
yeah, well,
but
I'm choking up myself as well. I never had
yeah,
the opportunity to meet him, but my husband did. And I
yeah,
tell you, my husband would talk to him frequently, and he believed so much in the projects he was involved in, believed so much in StrongBlocks and
oh
what
yeah,
you were talking about
yeah,
with Wax. And he would constantly give my husband advice, and
yep.
that was like his time. Like, it
It was,
didn't matter. He wanted to help everyone.
he was so generous with
Yeah,
his time.
yeah,
And I think that that's one of the things that in the crypto world that we all miss, because a lot of the reasons that crypto has gotten out there so much is that people have been, that people like Malcolm, who have been so generous with their time to be able to help spread the word,
mm-hmm,
help people understand, because it's non-trivial to do cryptocurrency still, and it will be for a while.
mm-hmm,
It's non-trivial to understand what blockchain even does,
mm-hmm.
and it's non-trivial to understand the investments and the investment risks. And Malcolm understood all of those things and gladly gave of his time. And I think segueing from that, it's like, that's the kind of thing that I would say has been very inspiring for me. I've been lucky enough to be in a group of people. I happened to live near Los Angeles, and there was a group of people in Santa Monica, Silicon Beach, or Blockchain Beach, what it became known as. And that's where all those people were. And there's a whole bunch of people all in this one tight community, just 40 or 50 of us. And almost all the big ICOs and everything else that was happening in 2017, 2016, 2017, it was all with this relatively small group. We would have pitch Tuesdays and pitch Thursdays, all sorts of other stuff. And Malcolm was frequently at those meetings, because he was part of that group. And there's a lot of people in there that helped really make this happen. And you realize it's a small world, right?
Yes.
The people that are really making things happen in any part of this are really, there's a group of connected people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, doesn't mean long term that they're all going to keep doing the same kind of projects. Another number of people, like, I'm no longer doing anything with Block One. It's been quite a while. Although I noticed that they are coming out with blockchain as a service. So I guess we're a good influence on people, because I pressed them to do that while I was still there, and it's 2 years later. We still haven't seen their software, so we don't know how it works. And I don't see a lot of the people that I originally worked with. Some of them are those Bitcoin millionaires and billionaires that I alluded to early on, that I can't disclose who they are, but they're living wonderful lives without having to worry about other things. And some of them got out. So people did fine, and they got out and went on to do other stuff. And so it's like any community, you get enough people into a community, and you're going to have, births, divorces, deaths. Yeah. And so it's just, that's that whole community there. There was a time, probably 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago now, where we were all together. And we would literally see each other every day. We would look at all these different projects and all these different things out there. And that's where a lot of this came from, was that there was a think tank of people working on building the future. And it was a privilege to be a part of that. And another thing where I got $0 for. And that one I was there almost every day, advising companies, helping to determine if there was a business model there, figuring out how the tokenomics would work. And that was, for me, I think for a lot of us, we still, when we run into each other, well, we virtually run into each other now, we would just talk about that. Wasn't that a great time? Because we were all just working. It was like we were a small, like a think tank, or the Algonquin Roundtable, just all talking about crypto as the future. So it was very cool.
It makes you think about it. That's one of the things that I really love about the crypto world, that it's such a great community, and everybody wants to help each other out. And there's so much to talk about. There's so much excitement surrounding it. You're talking about, being in the beginning of it. It makes you think of, who was it that was with IBM? I think it was IBM. He was in his garage. No, actually it wasn't IBM. It was the Amazon guy.
Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, Bezos. He was trying to convince everybody about what he was trying to do, and nobody really would listen. And then boom.
Well, he actually was he knew what he wanted. He knew he wanted to be this person way back when, and to do all these things. But what he did is he started up buying a list, the book list of all the ISBN numbers. Mm-hmm. So he could literally sell you books and then order them from a suppliers list that he had up in Seattle.
Wow.
And so that was the first thing, let's do that online. And I've been around long enough for when he started that I have they would send you a free mouse pad, back when you had mice.
You have the mouse pad?
Yeah, it's around in storage, but the mouse pad was a Groucho Marx quote, and it said, basically, besides a book, a dog inside. It was inside a book. Outside of a book, a dog is a man's best friend. Inside of a dog, it's too dark to read. Something along those lines. And that was there was a Groucho Marx quote on there on the mouse pad that he would send out. And they lost money. Remember, Amazon lost money for 10 years, every year. Mm-hmm. They lost money. And until they made more money than anybody else on the planet, right? It became ridiculous. But that's where things start. Yeah. And all ideas don't always work out. One of the things, if we want to get into what's going on in crypto and DeFi right now.
Absolutely.
One of the things that's really been interesting is how fast things iterate now that we're in the DeFi mode. You'll see things. You probably heard of some of these projects, and I'll just kind of I'll kind of run through some of them, like Aave and yes. Ampleforth and Yearn Finance, and Andre, of course, at Yearn Finance. Yearn Finance just purchased several of the other different projects and are consolidating them together to a one-stop thing. But they went through multiple different iterations. They literally had to kill their token and issue new tokens when they had problems with it. And we're talking about, like, Andre did this himself. He programmed the Yearn Finance by himself, only made 30,000 tokens available, did all these things. So what we saw once that whole thing was uncracked in Ethereum, it turned out to be Ethereum because that's where a lot of people had tokens. A lot of people were willing to take more chances, and there was a lot of Ethereum. Once that started opening up, there was a period of time here this summer where it just went absolutely crazy. Now, it also cost a lot in gas, and people keep saying, well, we'll go back to the Ethereum thing. Well, why did it end up being built on Ethereum? So the first thing is Ethereum had all the bells and whistles that you needed. It had a programming language for Solidity, for smart contracts. It had a huge user base. It had adoption by enterprises. It had consensus that was supporting things out there. Joe Lubin and all these other people supporting all these other great things. So it had adoption. It had high gas fees. And it's the same thing. I live in Southern California. Back when Disneyland was open, I used to compare it to Disneyland. It's like, well, Disneyland is crowded. It's expensive. You can't go on the rides. There's long lines. Everything is overpriced. And there's no other place like it on earth. Right. And so that's Ethereum, right? Is that it's overpriced. It's expensive. You got to wait in long lines. But there's no other place like it on earth. And so people built DeFi on that because there was nobody else. You couldn't do it on Bitcoin. EOSAO and the EOS mainnet made a number of marketing and other mistakes that just didn't allow it to really get out there and catch hold. Now they're trying, and Polkadot's trying, and everything else, but Ethereum, people started coming up with DeFi ideas, decentralized finance ideas, that would allow you to put some money in and get some money out the other side. Compound was one of those, right? They'd already been doing that for a while. They issued their governance token in June. That kind of took off. And then what you saw was a whole bunch of people flooding the space. And a lot of people didn't really know what they were doing. Their contracts weren't audited. They had people steal money out of their contracts, or the things collapsed. There were other problems. And then you had the famous stuff. You have the rug pulls, if you've heard about rug pulls, right? So what a rug pull, we'll define it here for the audience. A rug pull is when, and again, there's different people call different things rug pull. Rug pull is you're running your project, you're selling it, you're selling the token on Uniswap, and you go and remove all the liquidity. In other words, all the combination of your, Cracker token and the ETH that matches with it, and you take it all out overnight, and nobody can sell any of theirs, but you basically sold all of yours and then pulled out all the liquidity so nobody else could do it, and you walk away.
Was that I can't remember what it's called, a pizza guy or something that happened with something pizza?
Yeah, there's a bunch that
where he put his money in, then he got really, like, they went after him, and then he put the money back in because he took the money out.
Oh, that was I'm trying to remember the name of that
like
one.
A pizza.
Yeah, I don't remember the name right offhand, but yes, he actually essentially he sold $14 million worth of his tokens. Yes. I'll remember the guy in just a sec, but he sold $14 million worth, and then he said, okay, well, I'll give it back. And he did. And other people, they don't give it back. And there have been some interesting issues. So it's now the Wild West. Now, is it like regular finance? Well, you go out there, you see annual percentage yields, which, by the way, people do not know how to calculate in decentralized finance, because that's assuming that it's in there for a year. And there's no decentralized finance project that's been available for a year. So calculating APYs, I'm getting a 30,000% APY. It's like, well, maybe for 10 minutes. Yeah. If you claim right now, yeah, and it could change in 10 minutes later. It's going to be, you're going to be in the hole. So what happened though was this beautiful, beautiful set of innovations. So what you saw was people trying to innovate. How do we do this so that we get away from inflation? We have a big problem with inflation right now in a lot of different kinds of projects. Frankly, the only project that doesn't really have inflation, where you're continually adding new coins and then that's just dropping the price, is Bitcoin. Everything else, it's not an inflationary token. Ethereum is still kind of an inflationary token. EOS is an inflationary token. A lot of them are. And so what we've seen now is extraordinary innovation. It's like you're at the Wild West in some sort of a town, and people are coming up with really cool ideas. I watched a.
Does it remind you? Does it remind you a little bit of the .com, or that was the Wild West? It
does. It does, and with the it's better in a way. It's better than. It's as good as the .com. It's better than the ICO stuff, because most ICOs were frauds. Most ICOs, they never had any staff. They thought, well, if we get this $30 million or this $300 million, we're going to go out there and find ourselves some engineers, and they'll build this for us. Now, the thing that they wanted to build was a spacecraft to go to Mars in 30 seconds. And they were promising that, and everybody said, great, we're going to go to Mars in 30 seconds. This is great. Here's my money. Can I give more? And so that was the ICO boom. Yeah. And then with IEOs, they had to say, well, how are you going to give your tokens? What's your token allocation? People got much more scrutinized a lot more. With DeFi, you get a whole bunch of people that are still doing frauds, but you're getting some real innovation in there as well. So yes, it's .com boom, it's ICO boom. This boom is another innovation boom. And it's a great opportunity to make money and to lose money, to wake up the next morning and find out that the money that you thought you were ahead, you're now behind. You saw what happened with Bitcoin when it had the big drop a couple of weeks back, yes. Right before Thanksgiving, right? Yes. What happened? It was it's hard to say exactly, but a bunch of people heard different rumors about what's going to happen, and with wallets, that you're going to have a wallet problem because you're going to have to KYC your wallet, not just your account. Mm-hmm. And so theoretically, that caused a number of people who were holding a lot of Bitcoin to move it onto exchanges and then to sell it. And then what happened is they sold it, and then a whole bunch of people who shouldn't have been playing with derivatives because they were using a VPN onto like a Mexico or a London or some other exchange, then those things, the way that derivatives work is if you get some sort of a crash, it was at 19.6 and it drops to 18,000, then like you get liquidated. You get liquidated out of your derivatives positions. They don't come back. Yeah. And so in one very short burst, I think it was a couple of hours, maybe even faster, $950 million of futures contracts, essentially of derivatives contracts, got wiped out. $1 billion. And it wiped out a lot of people who had been building their bags. You know, that's the term, right? I'm building my bag. They're building their bags, and they got wiped out. And so now we started making it back up, but a lot of it was wiped out. Now, who gets it? Well, all the people who sold while that was happening and had the ability to sell it, and maybe bought Bitcoin at 2,000 or 100 or whatever. You know, it's like, it's time to sell. I want to take some profits. It always goes, there's always somebody on either side of a transaction. So that's the downside of all the DeFi stuff, is a lot of people put their hard-earned money in, and a good portion of that was wiped out, especially when the Bitcoin crash, but other DeFi projects had problems too. But I love the innovation that's going on in DeFi, and we are very inspired by it. We have a number of things for our roadmap beyond the nodes as a service thing, which we launched just last week. By the way, I'll segue into this. We were expecting when we launched that we were going to get, we had about 350 bring your own nodes that were already in our queue, that were already signed up and were getting rewards. We were expecting, well, we're going to get about the same amount. We're going to get maybe 40 a day new nodes signed up. And we launched this on Thursday, and we were at 350, and I'll pull up the numbers right now for where we're at. And we are at 1,292.
Wow.
So,
and that's
so that
short time frame.
It's launch. It's Tuesday, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So in 5 days, we're up to 1,292 nodes that are part of the service. So when you're looking at innovation, what we're doing is we had to stumble through. We brought something that we thought was just going to be perfect, didn't work out, too much inflation, had to change that. And then we had to, even after that, then we ended up having our gas fees were too high. So we had to change that. And we had been working on the nodes as a service model and couldn't release it until just last Thursday, because we had to fix these other things. And we survived it, and our audience survived it, and we're very loyal and very supportive. And then it starts blowing up. It starts actually going somewhere, and we're very excited about that. But it's the tip of the iceberg in DeFi. And icebergs are so, you know what, icebergs,
so
it's a nice dinner that you can go out to if you're in California, not so much anymore. It's a French Laundry dinner that only the governor of California gets to go out to. And it has like hors d'oeuvres and all sorts of fun stuff. That's where we are. We're in the hors d'oeuvres of the DeFi thing. We're in hors d'oeuvres right now. We aren't even in the big meal yet. When we start really getting things innovating, and you see people like Andre doing it's a combination of what it is. It's cream, and it's the insurance product, and it's Wi-Fi. All these things. I'm trying to remember the name of that one. It's Cover. Cover. He's added Cover in there, and Cover is genius. I mean, and Wi-Fi was genius. All these genius ideas. Then you keep innovating and innovating and iterating, you start getting there. We're going to be doing the same thing. I had somebody asking me a lot of questions today. Well, now that you've got this, we only see your inflation being able to handle you for one more year, and we're worried now. And it's like, you just saw us in the period of 2 months, like innovate through 3 versions. We're looking at all the other things out there, and some of the things we modeled on, by the time we got them ready to go, we have 3 projects that we were going to add, 3 products that we're going to add in. We threw them out because by the time we got them ready to go, we looked at the market. It's like, yeah, that came, that went.
Yeah, it's ever changing, and it changes like in a split second. Yeah, I really love the fact, David, that like you're constantly like exploring and seeing what works and what doesn't. Like, you're not just stuck in, like, you have tunnel vision. So you're like looking at all different avenues to make it better for your end user. Yeah, I love that. So
Yeah.
you have such great connections too. It's amazing.
Well, there's a lot more. We're very blessed to have some great engineers who are working with us. And that's one of the things that I don't know what we would have done without having the team. We have a very small team. We work very fast, and the team is very thorough, but we're used to having a very focused scope. And we're lucky enough to know a lot of people in the space. Our marketing team, I want to do a shout out to Ben Noble and Ivan at Multiplied. They are fantastic. And we're very lucky to have them. They happen, one of their other clients is a company called Binance. And so these guys are well known in the space. They know a lot of people, and they've been helping to. Once we got ready to start doing our nodes as a service, they just came in a month ago, and they've been really helping us guide and work on that direction. It helps form what projects we're working on, because we're trying to look out over the next year and say, okay, well, we can predict some things may be popular and some things may be gone, and how do we make sure that what we're innovating on isn't going to go away? And then how do we get the word out? And the biggest issue that any company has is, we, as I mentioned earlier, have a very early loyal following of people who bought Strong, who mined in our liquidity pools, and who also now are doing nodes as a service. Thank goodness for them. That's one of the main reasons we went up so fast. As way more than 40 nodes a day that we predicted. But we are barely known outside of that group. And even with again, having a reputation, having worked with Block One and EOS, and worked with being attached to some other big projects, not enough. And this is our time to start breaking through. And we've actually kind of shied away from doing too many podcasts, or hardly any at all, any publicity, because we wanted to make sure the product was actually going to do what it needed to do. And so now we have that validation from the nodes as a service starting to take off. But that's really the big thing. The time will tell, is that you can create the coolest product in the world. We're doing something that we feel is different than almost any other DeFi project, is that there's a secondary beneficiary. We're benefiting the blockchains that we're supporting. Right now, it's just Ethereum 1.0. We're going to do 2.0 Bitcoin. We have other ones that we're talking with that I can't disclose yet. And we're going to have a system to be able to reward them. We have other incentives and all sorts of other things that we're doing, including NFTs. By the way, that was my conversation with Malcolm. Malcolm is one of the kings of NFTs. So he was advising us on that. So if people want to know what's coming, well, Malcolm was advising us on how we should go about bringing NFTs into the mix, and very cool ideas from him. So we have all these things brewing, and now it's getting the word out. It's almost like I have to turn from being a product manager, technical explainer, and crisis manager if things don't go right. Now we get to start talking about where this goes and why it's different, that we're supporting another community, not just, oh, you put in, Mary, you put in 100 strong and you're going to get a regular return on it. Great. In this one, you're supporting the Ethereum blockchain by providing an additional node on the Ethereum blockchain. I see that, and the original paper that I wrote for this was looking at, and I think I have a Medium post going way back on this. I see this. Why couldn't that be that you have people that you're coming in and they're paying a certain amount to get supported and get regular rewards? By the way, another acronym for you. What we're calling this one is newbie.
That's me.
Well, not NOOBI, but newbie as in Node Universal Basic Income.
Oh, I like it.
And
Listen,
what we're looking
I
at,
really love, I love your acronyms, and I love how you do correlations with like different things. Like it's awesome. You need to do. You're talking a lot, and I'm going to talk about newbie in just a second. But I would love for you, and I want to help you get the word out there. But I
Awesome.
think that you should start doing like AMAs, like really talking to people, getting the word out, because you have a fantastic, infectious personality. Like I really like the personality.
Thanks. Well, thank you. I've been heads down trying to make sure that this actually works. I'm starting to get back out there. I'm used to being on stage. I was a professional musician way back before I started getting into tech. I was doing tech and musician at the same time. So I actually made a living, not much of a living, but I made a living being a professional musician as a guitarist and singer. Guitarist and singer.
Love it.
Yeah,
okay, sing something for me. I'm going to put you on the spot.
No.
Okay. So tell me about this newbie.
Good segue. Nice job.
I think you turned red there a little bit.
That's good. You got me. So Node Universal Basic Income. Why not Universal Basic Income for other types of things? Why not build? Our goal was to not build this platform just for nodes. Nodes was the first thing. Why not have it for other different kinds of things beyond nodes? I was looking at, well, what if we did it and we supported 501c corporations so that they would get some sort of regular income? What about individuals? What about different kinds of things where you could prove that you were doing something, and then essentially by proving that you were participating in it, you got that kind of a participation reward? That's why we built the platform. The first use of the platform is for nodes as a service. So to take nodes, expand the number of nodes within a blockchain network, and then allow them to get rewards. But overall, what we see that there could be a much bigger use of this kind of platform in DeFi to help reward other groups that aren't getting rewarded, as opposed to just me putting in my cryptocurrency, mining it, taking it out, and going somewhere else when the rewards, when the APY starts going down. I actually want to be able to have it so that there's other ways of making that work. When I was back at Block One, I had Dan Lerman and I talked a lot about universal basic income. That was a long late night talks about UBI. And they haven't implemented anything like that, but I'd say that going forward, there is a need, especially with the economy changing like it is, if you could do something that you'd be able to get some sort of a reward for, put some upfront money to work to be able to have rewards coming in. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, have your money work for you, absolutely. Because certainly
way more than your savings account. Yeah, 0.5% interest at your local bank, if you can even get that.
Yeah, banks are giving you nothing. So that's pretty interesting. Where do you what's the big picture? Where do you see StrongBlock in, let's say, 5 years from now? Okay.
So going out in the future, 5 years, all I see way out is the idea of DeFi and the idea of blockchain and crypto and cryptocurrencies. All those things are now part of our regular daily lives, and it's not an alternate way to do things. It's to a certain extent regulated. It's something that you can participate in without having to become a technology expert. That's what's going to happen. People said, "Oh, that's going to happen." Back in Vitalik Buterin said, for ETH 2.0. Remember ETH 2.0? When I was working with Dan Larimer in 2017, we were racing because we thought he was going to come out with ETH 2.0. It just now got its 0 blocks on phase 0 December 1st. So it's way slower than you think. Technology is always going to take a while to catch up. So the 5 years out is way slower than you think. Our StrongBlock stuff is we aim to continue expanding our offerings that allow rewards to be given to other groups. But right now, in the immediate 6 months to 1 year, it's expanding it for nodes. And then we have a couple of other things that we're going to work on partnerships to expand that kind of reward mechanism to other different kinds of groups. And so that's where we're seeing things going.
So this is Blockchain Heard, where you heard it here first. Is there something that you can share with me that with the audience that I can say you heard it here? I mean, Come on, a
Well,
little
we
piece
did.
of something.
We mentioned NFTs. There is going to be an NFT. We've already designed them, by the way, and we already have the smart contract that don't go looking on out there. We haven't published the smart contract yet, but we plan on introducing NFTs as part of what we're doing at StrongBlock. And that's, I barely said anything at all about that. So that's all I can say, but there will be NFTs that will be incorporated into this whole thing. And that's coming relatively soon. And you heard it here first, is we are going to be doing them, but we were, people thinking, oh, that's probably something we're going to do 3 months from now. It's like, we've already got the NFT and it looks super cool. Malcolm got to see it and he loved it. It's so we've got 3 different types. I haven't told anybody that yet. So
shh. Okay, shh, I won't say anything. So
well, too late.
Oh God. All right. So David, I mean, I can't believe you started way back when, and I mean, you were like with the innovators. Like you were an innovator yourself. I mean, come on.
Well, yeah, I think I've always tried to look at it from the idea of a builder, and I think that's my reputation is I don't know if I try to look where I think things are going, and I try to build them. And that's the thing that I think I'm different than a lot of other people, is that a lot of people will talk about stuff they want to do. I look at, well, that seems like a good idea. How do I get this built and get it out there and see if it actually works? So that's really, I think if I have any claim to fame, it's that I get things done. And if they don't work, then we innovate on them, and we iterate on them, and we get them out the door.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and talking to you, you just seem so excited about StrongBlock, just the excitement in your voice and going on about it. I mean, it's exciting to me. I'm excited about crypto and the things that are happening right now, with Bitcoin going up and then when it goes down. I mean, it's like such a roller coaster with everything. And, how is your token doing? Do you have a limited amount of tokens?
That's a good question. One of the reasons that you reached out to me was about the burn that we had. We did a big burn. We started off with 10 million tokens. Mistake. Just too many tokens out there. We were following on Comp. Comp had done 10 million governance tokens. So we've actually burned, I think we were going to burn 96%. We're going to burn less than that right now, because we're also going to be burning some every time somebody gets a node. We're going to be burning one for that node. But we are down to, I think, 500,000 tokens, and the tokens out there, it's just getting started. I can't, again, just in general principle, I don't talk about price. Price is very important to everybody who's buying the token. It's something that you can go out there and find on CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko. They are wrong. We don't have 10 million tokens. We've tried to get them updated. Etherscan has updated it, showing all the burns that we've done. We did a huge burn, as you know, right before Thanksgiving, and that, I think, in one fell swoop, we burned like 94% of that 10 million. It was like 94.7%. It was huge. So we're just getting started with the token as well. We had a small loyal following. I think that there's only 2,000 wallets out there right now. 2,000 wallets is a rounding error. I think I have 2,000 wallets. So, so we're really looking forward to getting 10,000, 20,000 people participating, because there's a lot here for people. But we had to make sure that we got it right before we really started letting people know about it. And so we're there.
How many do you plan on having? What's your magic number? Do you think you mentioned 500,000? Is that where you're thinking?
500,000. That would be ridiculously high. That's a great number. I would be very happy with the number of tokens that we have and all the other stuff. If we just went 5x from where we are, 2,000 to 10,000. When I see that I'll be a happy man, seeing that that's the kind of adoption we're getting. Anything beyond that, I'm sure that we'll get, but I just want to see it start to grow. And I know, again, we know why it hasn't really grown yet. It's like we had to work some things out, and we're not only the first to admit it, we actually changed things because of that. So we're here now.
Well, David, I know that your time is limited, and I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me on my small little channel. I'm going to ask you one last question, and I'm just going to give the floor to you to ask yourself a question and answer it yourself. So have at it.
Ask myself a question.
And it has to be about crypto, not anything else.
I would say, why should people get involved in crypto? That's the question. My answer is, it's one of the biggest financial opportunities of this generation.
I love it. I love it. I'm going to make that like a Confucius thing. You know how Confucius says something, and put it in one of
What's the
those
sound of one hand clapping? Yes.
Very good. Very good.
One hand clapping. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Here,
Anyway.
let's clap. Ready?
Yeah. High five. So I think that's the simplest thing that I can say, that question and that answer. It's an opportunity of a lifetime. If you're not involved in it, you're missing out.
Okay, so why don't you tell our viewers how they can get additional information from StrongBlock, and what do they need to do to become a part of your community?
Okay, number one, we're at strongblock.com. That's our main site. You'll see lots of information there about our team and everything else. And from there, you can click in to create your own node directly from the top of that homepage. That you can go directly there, app.strongblock.com. And there you can, there's links to buy Strong if you need to do that, and you can mine, which is add liquidity to our project, or you can create a node. And all that stuff is at app.strongblock.com/nodes. We have a number of Medium posts out there under strongblock.io. That's the primary thing that we do. We also have a Twitter StrongBlock.io account. We have a Telegram StrongBlock.io account that has, again, same thing, about 2,500 members. That would be lovely to see all that stuff start growing as we start really reaching out here. And that's how you find us, through one of those various platforms. And you can, and of course, you can go out there on Uniswap and other places to look for the token itself.
Yep. Well, David, thank you so very, very much. I learned a lot in talking to you, and I mean, you're very modest. I mean, you're very informative as it relates to like the history of Bitcoin and where we are, where we're going. So thank you so much for giving me so much information on StrongBlock and on crypto itself. I appreciate you being part of the show.
It was my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. So again, thank you so much to David Moss with StrongBlock. I'm going to have all of his information down below. So make sure that you sign up, find out about BaaS, find out about NaaS, and all the other acronyms that he has. So as always, I really appreciate everyone subscribing to my channel. And don't forget, you heard it here on the Blockchain Herd.